Thanks for the lovely introduction, Mario. So, my name is Hester. I will talk about design thinking and keeping the user in mind while doing so. So, as Mario already told you, I studied design thinking. So, I'll tell you a little bit about how that happened, because I studied business, very broad, and I focused a little bit on innovation management. And I had to pick my topic for my oral exam. I got a long list with 30 topics, and I ran through them, and I'm like, okay, boring, boring. And then I saw design thinking. I'm like, what's that? Never heard of it, I'll pick it. So I picked it, I did my research, and of course, I went to the Hasso Plattner Institut to do some research. I'm like, this is awesome, I gotta study it. So I applied and I studied it, and now I'm here and talking about it. So it's very exciting to be here. So supposing it is good, but finding out is better. And this is what my entire talk is about today, because a lot of times when we build products, when we try to be innovative, we base that on our own thoughts and our own beliefs, but really not looking what's out there, whom we're designing for and what we're doing it for. So why minding the user? Why is that important? So Eric Ries once said, building something nobody wants is the ultimate form of waste. And who wants to build waste? So what about, what would happen if a business were built from the ground up to learn really what their customers want and building something based on their needs? So what's important for innovation? Everyone has heard about innovation, but what does that really consist of? What does that mean? So there are three things that we should really keep in mind. It's about the feasibility. So if we build something, is the product technically functioning? Does it work? And then the next part, is it viable? Does it survive on the business? Can we sell it? And the third part is the desirability. Do our users, our customers fall in love with our products and can't live without it? And that's where design thinking comes in, funnels in. It's about the people. We want to make the people, the users, fall in love with our products. So that's what it's all about, very easy. So what is design thinking? Let's take a closer look. So a lot of people think, okay, design thinking, it's a process and you can apply it. 6 steps, very easy. But if you ask me, I think it's more a mindset, it's a methodology, it's how you work and how you collaborate. So it's not only a process. Of course, it has those tools, it's a tool set, but it's also on how you apply it. And it's also not a reinvention. It's not something new. It's a lot of proven concepts that already exist, but a combination of those. And it really helps you to ensure those desirable products that I will talk a little bit more about. So there are 3 things that you should always keep in mind when you want to do design thinking. It's about the right people, so who does it, who applies it. It's about the needed space, so where do you do it? And then, of course, the supporting approach. And if you combine those 3 things, you can do innovation, hopefully. So let me talk a little bit more about the right people, and Saul already talked a little bit about that. It's not about lonesome research. It's not just about one person sitting in the garage thinking about that one idea. It might happen with this guy maybe, but it's not that common. So it's really about an interdisciplinary team. And we call those people, forming those T-shaped people. So what's a T-shaped person, basically? First of all of you guys have a T-shape. So you have the horizontal part to it, the vertical part, sorry. That's all of your expertise, and that can be very different. So maybe you're a developer, you know everything about technology. But maybe you're an expert in marketing, or in innovation management, or something like that. So that's your expertise, which is very unique about you, what you studied, where you're an expert in, and then you have the horizontal part to it. And that's the social component that connects you to the other people in the team to build that really a multidisciplinary team that can be your skills for empathy, for team building. And if you combine these things, you have those different mindsets and experiences in the team, and that can, of course, also be the different countries that connect you. So if I would ask every one of you right now, please draw a tree, I probably get, how many people are we? Maybe 80 different pictures. Because everything that you have in your mind about a tree looks very different from each other. And you can apply that to ideas and products as well. Nobody thinks the same thing. You all come from a different angle, from a different perspective. You all have a different mindset. So we want to combine these different things and make use of the multidisciplinary in those teams. And then, of course, the needed space. So where do we practice design thinking? Where do we do that? So there are a few things that I think are very important, and that's the flexibility of the environment. So there are always different phases when you build a product, when you think about ideas, when you collaborate in a team. So really adapt your needs to your environment. So if you have, for example, a couch with wheels, you can move it outside if the weather is nice and you need some fresh air, or you need to sit on chairs like this. So really make use of your needs, what helps you think more creatively, maybe. And then, of course, you always need a team space. You want to have like your own room where you can capture everything that you worked on, and not like book a meeting room in a big office, and every time the hour is up, you have to take everything out again and have to start over again. So really find a room where you can capture everything and keep it and come back all the time. And then, of course, the supporting approach that I've already talked a little bit about. So that's what it looks like. It has six steps to it. And when we start with a process, we always start with a problem statement. So we have a challenge that we're facing, that we're trying to solve. And we don't know what the outcome is. So it's very open-ended. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to do scoping. We want to talk about the challenge that we're facing, and we want to talk with it in the team and bring the entire team on the same level of knowledge. Because a lot of time when you have a problem, again, you have those different perspectives, and you all think different about that problem. So talk about it and create that common understanding. And sometimes it really helps to make the problem statement a little bit more narrow, a little bit more broad. And then the next step is you want to diverge. You want to go out of the building, and you actually want to talk to real users. So first of all, think about, okay, who are my users? Who are the topic experts in that field? What could be analogous situations? And really create a stakeholder map of all these people that you want to talk to that can give you valuable information for your problem. And then, of course, in the first step, also validate if the problem even exists. Sometimes you start with a problem and you go out, talk to the people, and you find out they don't really have that problem. It lies somewhere totally different. And then you go back and maybe shift the problem statement again, shift the challenge, and start over again. And once you come back, you have tons of information. And your team might have talked to different people, and you want to bring everything back together. So you want to converge, and you want to synthesize your information, which means you share all the information, bring the people in the team on the same level of knowledge again, share what you talked to, share what you listened to, and you want to make a statement at the end. So sometimes you come back from your research and you have like 1,000 Post-its on the wall, and you're like, okay, what do I do with all that information? It's kind of overwhelming, right? So there are different tools that you can apply to really synthesize. You can create personas who, for example, represent your user group. So you talk to 50 different people, but you can't say, okay, those are my 50 users. Sometimes it helps to create that one fictional character, we call it a persona, that represents that user group. And you know, okay, this is Max. He's 35 years old. These are his hobbies, blah, 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 his profession, and he's the one we're designing for. So there are tools that really simplify that. And then at the end, it also helps to sometimes create a point of view that consists of your user, your persona, the need. So you find out really what is the need that we're trying to solve here, and just have one sentence that you're working with. To then go to the next step, and you want to diverge again, you want to ideate. So only the fourth step of the process is about coming up with ideas. A lot of time when people jump into the design thinking and see the problem, they say, I have an idea, I have an idea, I have the solution, I know it already. But you haven't even talked to the users yet. And that's the first thing everyone does during design thinking. It's like, I have an idea, but it's not about that. It's first of all about the user. What do they really want? And a lot of time it happened to me so many times. I found out, okay, the need is somewhere totally different. It's not, because it's not about my need. It's about their needs. And that's something you always need to keep in mind. So ideation is about brainstorming ideas. And you can do that in a lot of different techniques, writing on Post-its, sharing your ideas, building on the ideas of others. Of course, defer judgment, always very, very helpful. And come up with cool ideas and then try to prototype them and see if it works. Because just coming up with idea and thinking for yourself, oh my God, I love my idea, that's the one, doesn't get you anywhere. So try to make it tangible, try to build something, and go back to the user and test it. And when you prototype something, it's very important that don't fall in love with it too fast. Make it rough and dirty, that's what we say. Don't mind too much about maybe the color of the button, because that's what the people will judge you on afterwards. They will say, oh, you know what, if the button would be blue and not red, I would like it more. It's not about that. Really try to express the functionality of your product, what you want to express. And then if it looks like just rough, and people know you can just throw it away and you didn't put too much effort in it, so you get the real feedback. And then at the end, of course, do the validation. So take your prototype, go back to the user, and get that valuable feedback. Capture everything. And maybe, yes, your prototype sucks and you need to go back, but that's what it's all about. Fail early and often. And also, this process, it's in one row, as you saw it there, but it's not really a fixed order of those steps. So a lot of times you have to iterate, you have to go back, you have to jump forward. So sometimes when you go to the ideation phase, which happened to me, and I'm like, I just don't have any ideas. So maybe my insights are not valuable enough. Let's do more research. So you go back. It happens. So it's very iterative. And Tim Brown, from the D School, he said, it's a system of spaces rather than a predefined series of orderly steps. And I think that expresses it very well. And again, it's an open-ended process. So when you start, people can't really assume the outcome of the process if they don't know the problem. So of course, you always start with a problem, but it's a problem that you think it is the problem. It might not be. So always keep that in mind. It's a very open-ended process. So what about the mindset? People should be very curious. They should be willing to learn, and they should be open to new things. And sometimes it helps to be a little child when doing that, because children are the ones who are never afraid of asking any question. They will ask you, but why? But why? And they will ask you 10 times, and they will dig so deep that they get all the information out of you that's possibly there. And try to keep that in mind, always asking why. And then, of course, failures are allowed, because if we don't fail, we don't learn. And that's what people are most afraid of, to fail and not succeeding. But if we don't fail, we don't learn. And then we don't know how to improve and make it better. So it's okay to fail. And design thinking is also about a very open feedback culture. So always communicate with your team, with your team members, with the customers, with the users. Tell them what you like and what you wish for. But also keep in mind, don't be too judgy about things. So if you don't like something, some of the time it's like, oh, I don't like that, I hate that. Try to be like, I wish it would be, or it could be like this, we could do this or that differently. And why do we do design thinking at all? First of all, we want to solve wicked problems. Second of all, we want to create better solutions. We want to maximize the value and minimize the waste, of course. And then, what's very important, we want to generate business models. We want to build a product, bring it alive. So after the design thinking process, the product innovation isn't over. You need to create a business model, of course, and you need to implement. And a lot of people forget that. And also, when I came from the D School, I studied there for an entire year. We always stopped at the validation. I'm like, okay, but what's next? Like, what's going on in the real world? And that's what I'm talking about a little bit now, because that's when I got the reality check. When I moved from the D School, a very safe and sound environment, everything was purple and lovely, and the people were nice. And then I went to SAP, and the people were still nice, don't get me wrong, but things are different. in a company that has 60,000 employees that have their very strict processes and an already established company culture. So somebody comes and says, oh, let's do design thinking. And it's like, oh, last year we had lean, this year we have design thinking, what's next? Like, it's gonna pass, whatever. So 3 things I want to talk about that can be a little challenging. First of all, let's talk about the people. People are always afraid of the new, especially in an environment that is safe and where you know, okay, this is how it should be, this is exactly how it goes, I know what tomorrow will look like. So it's scared to try something new, and especially something where you don't know what's coming out of at the end, right? And then you have a team formation. And I also am a big fan of multidisciplinary teams having different cultures, and especially at SAP in the Silicon Valley, we had a team of 20 people from 14 different countries. So a lot of different perspectives, but it can also be very problematic because those people come from a different culture. Some people tell me Germans are rude in America, and people would never say things like that. Don't be so direct. And I'm like, okay. So things like that can also hinder teamwork, and it's not always positive to be so different. Because then it's important, okay, then I know I need to invest in team building first before I can work in a process in a team like that. So it's important to, if you do those innovation processes, be very transparent about it. Let the people know what we're doing, why we're doing, whom we're doing it with, and invest in team building, invest in the people first, and don't throw them in the cold water, because then they will run away right away. And then the project itself. So how do you want to measure the success of an open-minded project? It's difficult. And if your managers tell you, okay, put your KPIs in here, what do I put in there if I don't know what's coming out, what I'm supposed to deliver? That's what people think about in big companies, and it makes sense. You need to have those things, so you have to have your management on board. And your management needs to be committed, and they need to give you that freedom, that free space to be able to innovate and be like a little bit more open at the end, right? So, and also design thinking can be time consuming. What a lot of people say, oh, design thinking, so much time, you can fail, you can go back, blah, blah, blah. But of course, on the other hand, if you look at products that we build, and we build it very quickly, and then at the end we launch it and nobody buys it, is that not a waste of time? And then we have the process itself. So failure as a success limitation. So failure is always seen very, very negative. So don't fail, especially in the Silicon Valley where we have a hire and fire culture. It's very easy, it's very different from Germany or probably also Austria. So people keep that in mind, so they are very, very strict about it and very, very scared. So you have to have it in line with the company culture. You have to have not only the management on board, but also the company culture. And then always have the go-to-market after the design thinking process, as I mentioned earlier. Create a business model. Don't stop at the end of the process. Do something with it. So I'm running out of time, so I'm moving a little quicker. Just 2 more bubbles, and I'm done. Let me sum this up, what I was just talking about. So design thinking can be a method to develop innovative ideas. For sure, it can be very efficient because you have the multidisciplinary teams, you have those different perspectives on the challenge, and if possible, in a very creative environment. And if it seems like a project didn't succeed, you still learn because you get great insights in not only your users, you only increase the motivation of your team, and you improve, of course, the teamwork. What can be very challenging are expectations. If the expectations might be too high, then you can be disappointed afterwards. If the planning is half-heartedly, if you don't have all the resources, if you don't get the time from your management or that commitment, and of course also personal barriers. So it's very important, if you want to apply design thinking, do it the right way, and do it all the way, and do it full-heartedly. So in the end, design thinking can be a very active and intelligent innovation investment which enables companies to react and also stay lucrative to upcoming challenges if the future turns into reality. Thank you very much. And I hope you join me tomorrow in the workshop and learn a little bit more about it.